CGCP 2590 by Chesthetica. Black only has a rook and a pair of pawns against all of white's material. It's fairly obvious that white can win this. For example, f7. Black can't stop the promotion. If g3, then queen to f3 is mate. So maybe rook to b1. There was no need to capture that rook actually. King to c7, rook to c1 check, just buying time. Knight captures rook. And then if f4, queen to e5 or even queen to c5 is mate. And if here knight captures rook in the first move, king to g6, f7 discovered check, sacrifice the pawn, king captures pawn, rook to f6 check, king to g8, queen to h6, and then it doesn't matter what black does, rook to f8 is mate. The rook is double defended by the queen and the bishop. So the bishop is not really necessary, and the knight on g1 isn't really contributing to the checkmate. But you might be surprised that neither of those are the best way to win. Let's analyze this a little deeper. So there are mates in 5 and there's a mate in 4, which was the f7 maneuver I showed you earlier in the key move. But the shortest mate in this position happens to be perhaps the most interesting one. Queen to g5 check. A queen sacrifice. Black is forced to capture the queen. This is a full queen sacrifice, by the way. There is no recapturing of material, and black is actually forced to capture it. There's no other option not to capture it. And then f7, a discovered check by the bishop. The king moves back to h5, and the knight mates on f4. Now, not only is this the shortest position, there was a queen sacrifice, there was a discovered check, and all the pieces are playing a role in the overall mate execution. The knight checkmates the king, the rook guards the h6 flight square, the bishop guards the g5 and h4 flight squares, and the pawn move f7 permitted both of these defenses. Not just the discovered check by the bishop on e7, but also opening the line so the rook on e6 can guard the h6 flight square. Let's take a look at that again. It doesn't seem so obvious, does it? If you played f7 as the key move, yes, it would also lead to mate. It would take longer, and I would argue not as attractive. But it turns out, in this position, if you saw it, queen to g5, imagine that, queen sacrifice. This is something like Magnus Carlsen might pull off in 1 out of 100 games. King captures g5, f7, discovered check, king moves back to h5, and knight to f4, mates. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm pretty sure I did.
Chesthetica's Book of Chess Constructs, Volumes 1 through 5. Available on Amazon.